Hello, and thanks for pressing the click button. And thanks very much for all your reaction to the conversations and memories of performing on the Town Hall and the Arts Centre and the Parochial Hall stages. And thanks very much to the reaction to the trail for this evening's conversation. It's been a pretty cold and miserable Easter Monday, but put on your Sunday clothes when you feel down and out. Strut down the street and have your picture took. Dressed like a dream, your spirits seem to turn about. That Sunday shine is a certain sign that you feel as fine as you look. Beneath your parasol, the world is all a smile that makes you feel brand new down to your toes. Get out your feathers, your patent leathers, your beads and buckles and bows, for there's no blue Monday in your Sunday clothes. For my guest this evening, people always say, you're still glowing, you're still crowing, you're still going strong. And like so many leading ladies, one name says it all. Cher, Adele, Evita, Rihanna, Maddona, GAGA, Veronica.
Divine by name, divine by nature. I'm nearly thinking you were actually introducing somebody else there now, to be honest with you. But yeah, gusto, yes, surely.
How did you get involved in singing and musicals, Veronica?
Music and singing started, like it seemed to be the majority of the people in the town, with Miss Ethel in St. Clair's. And I don't know whether there was something there that we see that was sown, whether intentionally or not, I don't know. But certainly, yes, on through the face with choirs, the solo singing, the verse, but I never really enjoyed it, to be honest with you. Didn't mind the choirs, but God, and I don't know why I did it, because you just went and you put yourself forward as you did every year, because it was more or less, well, you'll do, and you'll do, and you'll do. And I surely not a bother, but I hated it. I didn't realize, I didn't realize, maybe hate is too strong a word, but I didn't really enjoy it. And it's only when I looked back years later that I realized that. And I'll tell you for myself, I'm no good being myself. This is why I dreaded this. I am no good at being myself. If I was sent out to sing a poem, I would have sang my song, new shoes, red and pink and blue shoes. Oh my God, yes. Tell me, what would you choose? Blah, blah. I think I won a few certificates, won a few medals. Well, yeah, but nothing of any great note. I never looked forward to the next program or the next year, not by any means at all. I was a bag of nerves and was no use at all. And I can remember at one stage, Mrs. B, Kathleen Bale, I think it was the one and only time I entered for songs from the shows. And she said, Veronica, if something goes wrong, please do not roll your eyes. Because I just would have stood there and went, God, I've done it again. Whereas I could hide that as any character on stage. Now I would love that. But no, fish. And I was never interested in all of them businesses and entering all of these things and going to different faces. No. I went because I was put in through school. I had no elocution lessons or singing lessons. Not that I'm sure there's many a one could tell you, yes, that stands out. Blatantly obvious that you had neither.
So Veronica, you said you were nervous on stage, and I can't believe that, because you never ever, in any time I saw you on stage or even within the cathedral, never came across as nervous. From the face, did you go directly into the musical society?
No, not really. I ended up probably through Miss Ethel, I can think. Possibly maybe Sister Salvador, if she was roaming about St. Clair's. I went into the junior choir in the cathedral. Until March of last year, I'd given 47 years to the cathedral choir. I would still have got nervous going on to the pulpit. And not being a trained singer, never having had elocution lessons or singing lessons in my life, everybody else were going, oh, and I went, geez, and I just used to go, oh, we'll be all right, we're grand. The nerves surely would get a hold of you, you know what I mean? And I would nearly be saying, I would nearly need to be singing something first of all to warm up my voice. See, that would be not warming up and all the rest of it, like, and then go and do the psalm, because it's God's word you're trying to convey and trying to do have some meaning.
Was there music in your family when you were growing up, Veronica?
There was and there wasn't. Declan, Daddy could sing, beautiful tenor. Daddy would have been asked to sing at the likes of weddings. If you're at weddings, Leo for his party pieces, which were Marta and Little Town in the Isle County Down. Mummy could sing, but never. I don't really remember hearing Mummy sing on her own as such. And although we could all sort of carry a tune, well, I'll mention no names, I was the only one that I can remember. Some of the rest of them would have done it in face. But here we are, all 8 of us packed into the car, you know, maybe 3 in the boot facing out the back way and all the rest. And the 8 tracks would be going.
Yeah.
And that could be Val Doonigan, Slim Whitman, Brent and Shine got a look in at one stage too. But I then realised, Declan, without even me knowing it, I could have sang every one of those songs. I can remember in St. Clair's being asked, Veronica, you come up and sing a song. And if you do, everybody get an extra 10 minutes of break or something like this. So the onus was put on me, and I'm going, what? And I can remember getting up. I hadn't a clue, Declan. I can remember getting up and singing. And this was because of my older sister Joanne's taste, which was Garfunkel, Paul Simon and Art Garfunkel. And I can remember singing El Condor Pasa. Now, hello. And I would have done, I thought it was French.
Did you get involved in school shows then, in school productions?
Yes. Sacred Heart then was Viva Mexico. By God, I sprayed that skirt, let me tell you, with my Robin candle. I must have used a spray every night, because Kathleen Bale and Mary Glaze said our skirts had to be stiff and swinging. Well, by japers, I needn't tell you. And then we did Pink Champagne, Die Fledermaus. And you didn't have such audition, but I can still remember in Mr. Herman's hut. And he was on the Joanna, and there was a whole crowd of us. We're all tra-la-la and all the rest. But little known to us, Mrs. B, Kathleen Bale, was going right in her blue uniform, blue overcoat thing, going round, and she was singing away. But she had the ear out, you see, to see who could do. So anyway, I ended up playing Adele. I ended up doing the laughing song, and it was great. It was great. But that was where I learnt everything from the likes of Kathleen Bale, rest her, and Mr. Germans, without even that stagecraft, that musicality, that timing, that projection. You know, there's no mics in my days, Jacqueline.
Well, people would say you haven't stopped laughing ever since, Veronica.
I know, I don't think I have actually, you know, but I've done my fair share yapping and gurning and crying, I can tell you too. But no, laughter, it is the spice and the food of love. Never mind music and anything else. No, laughter is key.
And then
why do you think of all them wrinkles? It's the laughter lines.
It's the laughter lines, yeah. Did that school shows then springboard you into the musical society?
I can't even remember what springboarded me into the musical society.
Suddenly you were there.
I know. I can't remember why I joined. I joined in the year, it was Irene year, and that was what, 84. And I didn't join with other friends or anything, not that I knew people in it. So I don't know whether that was a direct feed from Kathleen Bale, Miss Ethel, Margaret Nolan. She would focus there somewhere, but I don't know for why. So yes, I went into Irene and left my brother's wedding reception in the Ballymac to come and do the performance in Irene, because I was one of 3 standing on the top of 3 upright pianos, which went to Waterford and went on that gradient as well. And no one was prepared to do the middle one. And sure, I thought, oh, geez, you just couldn't have a piano with nobody on the top. So I left that. And then the next year was, I was lucky enough, we were doing the Northern Ireland premiere of Gigi. And I left my sister's wedding reception in my bridesmaid's dress, flowers still in my hair, to come and do a dress rehearsal in the town hall. And I wouldn't be doing it now, like, I can assure you, like, you know, well, but that was what you did then.
That production of Gigi was a celebration for the 40th year of Newry Musical and Orchestral Society, as was it. Do you have a copy of the programme?
I did. But I'm afraid when I was clearing out the loft, 2 years ago now, I'm afraid all of that gone.
You didn't. All
I
that
was very
history.
ruthless. I
Oh,
was
what a
very
shame.
ruthless. But
Well,
sure, there's
listen,
any amount of them out there.
I have a copy of the program.
There she is.
Yeah, there is Gigi, and a beautiful, beautiful cover as well.
And that beautiful cover, Jerry McNulty designed, and he actually created them for me as a good luck card. A massive, massive reproduction of that sat in the town hall for me, and it all in beautiful French message inside it, and that went to the bin too.
Oh, no, no.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, along with lots of things, you know what I mean.
Have you kept any bits and pieces of memorabilia? Was there anything too precious to clear out 2 years ago?
There was actually funny, and it was in relation to Gigi. One that would stand out would be it's a China lady in a bright yellow gown and holding a parasol. And when you turn her upside down and you rotate the little novel, it plays Thank Heaven for Little Girls. And Wesley Livingstone and Myrtle bought that for me as my first leading role with Newry Musical and Orchestral Society as it was then.
People speak so warmly of Wesley, and especially people who joined the society and I've been talking to, and they say, you know, one of the first people to welcome you with a really warm and honest to goodness welcome was Wesley.
Very much so. My grandfather passed away on the 4:10 on the opening night of Gigi. And I can remember then I couldn't have borne anybody, you know, to be nice to me, because that was just going to make me cry. And I had this show to do. Like, I just kept out of the way. Not that I wasn't in a dressing room anyway. I was actually located just off the side of the stage because there was a few quick changes. And I was going down to the loo or to the dressing rooms for something or other, and poor Wesley met me on the way up. And he said, no, I can't. I just can't pass it. Which that was that. I was in floods of tears. He was in tears. And I said, Christ, Rob, the show to get on here. He was emotionally adept, do you know what I mean, at reading people. And he was so secure in that love of music that he had. And he shared that right to the end.
That role in Gigi was, you know, a very musical role, a very delicate role. Later on in Principles, you've probably taken on more edgy, gutsy characters in principal roles in musical theatre as well.
I have managed a whorehouse in Maddona 3 times as Miss Mona in the best little whorehouse in Texas. There's nothing dirty going on. Dolly, of course, Dolly, who was near the death of me on 3 times. But yes, Dolly, she's as gutsy as you'll get them too, you know. You have even Annie Oakley. She's a bit of a gutter too, like, you know, swinging about there with her quails and her guns.
Miss Hannigan.
Miss Hannigan. Actually, after I had sort of taken a reprieve and a break and an early retirement, I had declined Mrs. Potts in the Opera House for another company. And it was so in declining that I was able then to help David out to do Miss Hannigan in a matter of weeks in Annie. And that more or less took me back in, and I'm there since. I think I maybe took a year break on the next one, or no, we did The Sound of Music, I think, actually then. And that was beautiful too then, the Mother Abbess. And then there was a break, and then into Dolly. I did 2 Dollys in 14, and I'm there ever since. And honourable secretary, I'll have you know. From
very, very honourable, very honourable. Tell me about Dolly, because it's, you know, she's a great character herself. And how do you approach a role like that? Do you analyse it, tear the script apart and put it together again?
No, I use like that, Declan. I don't really study it until she gets in on me, and it's usually too late at that stage and there's an audience in front of me. I was first asked to play Dolly in, was it 96, and that was for Listening Garvey. And I said, God, now I had already taken a wee break at this stage. And I thought, no, I'm not sure about that. But anyway, I did it. And she absolutely terrorized me. I was waking up in the middle of the night. I couldn't get lines. I was listening to them going down the road to rehearsals. And I had never had that. Do you know what I mean? And I thought, no, this is just too much. So And yet I loved playing her, but she terrorized me each and every night. And no, I said, that's it. That is me finished now. I'll go out on a high. Thanks very much. All the best. Cheerio. And I did do. I didn't do anything for a number of years. Ostensibly then too, because mommy only made it 1 year, but daddy and a couple of my sisters, a couple of the family, we then started to go to Lourdes, the diocesan pilgrimage to Lourdes, and that clashed every year with the May show for Newry. So I effectively wasn't really missing out on anything then, because I had been so long on the slog where I would have been doing panto into the Newry show. I would have been doing maybe 1 or maybe 2 shows during the show, during the summer in Belfast. Would have been down to Waterford, maybe performing in possibly 2 shows. That happened a couple of years. Then you would have been doing the cavalcade of song for Ames. Then you would have been back into panto rehearsal, and it was just that hamster wheel.
That relationship between the onstage performers and the orchestra and the pit is vital in making a show work. And you mentioned that you'd been working with Gus when you were at school, and then Gus Turrymans would have been conducting in the orchestra pit, and he really marshaled his orchestra and his performers. Did that always work out? Did it ever go wrong?
Oh, well, sure, things always went wrong, like, you know what I mean? But there was, he was a maestro. He definitely was a maestro. And he was very supportive to anybody that was there. He considered it that, yes, his orchestra could take off. They had moments of grandeur, but other than that, they were there to support and enhance what was coming off the stage. But sure, I gave him heart attacks in his time too, like, God bless him. One immediately comes to mind, which was Annie, Get Your Gun. And there was 2 horrible songs in my head. They're in the first 5 minutes. They're probably not. There's probably a half an hour in the difference of them. But they were both so very similar, i.e. there was 40 verses and there was maybe 4 lines reverse, and it was all and oh my sweet divinity. But anyway, I got through one, I think, and then up came You Can't Get a Man with a Gun, and same scenario again. And Jim Smith is sitting on a upturned cart, and there's only him and I on the stage. And I'm standing with my quails and my gun and the whole shebang, and I start, oh, you can't get a man with a gun. And I suddenly realized not a notion do I have of where I'm going here. And I think I got to maybe the 3rd verse, and I was taking a line from this one and a line from the next one and a line from the one behind and one that was 2 pages ahead. And poor Gus is going 47, 14, 22. He's trying to keep up with the orcs, not a word of it. Poor Mary Bell was sitting, she was prompt, and she was sweating buckets in vain, ready to cry, looking up at me because she couldn't tell.
You mentioned panto earlier in passing, but if you don't mind me saying, I think you're one of the more glamorous of the ugly sisters that I've ever seen on stage. How did Charlie hook you into the panto?
He landed into work and he said, "It's well, haven't seen you in a while, blah, blah, blah. If I threw you in a script, would you read it?" Certainly, yeah. And I thought, oh my giddy aunt, here we go again. And Declan, I have to tell you, now it was crossing in me sideways, like, I have to tell you again. And there we were. The irony of it is, of course, that I ended up saying no thank you to Mrs. Potts in the Opera House, but I ended up being Mrs. Potts in the Town Hall. No better place. Loved it. And of course, Charlie in his development knows, the whole thing too well, knew me, what I would do, what I couldn't do or whatever. And of course, sent me down into the audience. Like, I mean, you'd have panic attacks, many's a night, like, And I did her as a wee Scottish lady, you see. And she's been Scottish ever since, whether she's in Aladdin or whether she's in Cinderella. She's a little Scottish lady. Charlie, to a fine art, has the right song for you, the right move for you. But then he would say, oh, well, now you would know the line. We'll just try that again. It was never me, obviously. It was everybody else was wrong.
Yes. Yeah.
But then he would say, you'll know yourself. You know yourself. Oh, he's a He's so smart.
And then you moved into the panto players play without the music, so you lost that sort of musical
Yeah.
role and stability and trust and
And that
understanding,
sense of
and then
security. Yeah.
security. That's the word I was looking for. Security.
Wait till I tell you something, Declan. I had an absolute ball, I have to confess, because I'd never done anything like that before, other than school or something, you know, and strung it out as long as I could, added bits in that I could, because, you know, you had the audience there, and the rest of them were saying, what is she at now? I can hear you, what's she doing? What is she doing? And it just got longer and had stole a lot of moves off Rosalind, because Rosalind had played this part before. It was Love Knows No Frontiers. But I would hope, you know, would still get that little call, you know.
Yeah. You touched on it on the way through there, but you weren't just confined to the Newry Musical Orchestral Society. You performed with other groups as well, and with groups that were set up specifically to bring talent from different societies together.
Yeah. Chap called Peter Kennedy, originally with Ulster Operatic, and it was Gigi. I think it was the Tuesday or Wednesday, and I can't recall. And because I sang at my grandfather's funeral on the Wednesday, but I can remember sitting backstage anyway, there's somebody to see you or somebody wants to meet you, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And here comes, lo and behold, Peter Kennedy. I didn't know him from Adam. Peter called the company First Act Company, and it was first amateur companies together. And you know, we've had friends for life ever since that, you know, really. And we would have done maybe 1 or 2 shows doing The Boyfriend, done Best of Horizon, Texas 3 times. My middle sheriff was Ivan Little.
Oh, there you go. Hey, star indeed. Star indeed.
Who, me or him? Don't answer that.
Veronica, if I was to ask you to pick a favorite show, what show would you pick?
Singing shows would be different, would be Widow or Pirates. The acting end of it would be Dolly. Well, the singing would be the Merry Widow too, and the likes of the sound of it. I guess Dolly, the dastardly Dolly, who near was the death of me 3 times. Dolly.
Have you enjoyed all of those years?
I have, and I think it wasn't that I stopped because I wasn't enjoying it, but it was maybe just too much, because, you know, I was then getting married and you have a full-time job, and somewhere along the line you just have to think. The problem was, a character that I never played was Ada Wani. I played Laurie in Oklahoma, but I was the girl who just couldn't say no. Will you do this show for me? Will you come in and do this part? You'd love this. You'll do this. Well, surely, and I'd be away. And maybe at the cost of my own health or whatever. Now, I was fine. I was young. I was able to do all these things. But you do learn with wisdom. But it's what you're pulling from all of those experiences that you're ending up bringing then back on the stage into a character, you know?
Well,
that's what it's all about.
From someone who described themselves in the fish as nervous and shy and retiring and almost afraid to perform on the stage, you have given us so many different characters and brought so much joy and happiness and musicality to the audiences in Newry and beyond. And for that, thank you very, very much indeed. And
You're very kind.
Thanks for having the chat with me this evening. Really do appreciate it, Veronica.
I enjoyed it, Declan, and thank you very much.